There's certainly a lot of debate about whether fictional characters look ugly these days, and I'm pretty sure the Uncanny Valley is to blame. Welcome back to Otaku Daikun. Dai here. Today we're going to talk about anime and its relationship with the Uncanny Valley. What sparked my interest in this topic was how people had polarizing opinions regarding how Jill Valentine was rendered for the new Resident Evil 3 remake. Some people went so far as to say Capcom made her uglier on purpose, to try and appease the SJWs who complain that the only female representation in games are hot supermodel types. I really find that hard to believe, but there's no denying that Jill has some rather uncanny moments in the game that freak me out more than the zombies ever could. To be fair, Jill's looked way worse. Her RE5 appearance looks nothing like her, and her RE1 remake model had this rather bulbous nose and piercing eyes that are equally unappealing. That said, it's not like anyone was trying to make her ugly. In both remakes, Jill had actual human models to base her design from, and both women are very attractive. It's just that their respective games fail to accurately portray that beauty, which, as it turns out, is extremely difficult. The Uncanny Valley is a phenomena coined by Professor Masahiro Mori to describe how we as spectators react to human-like robots. Many engineers have been trying to bring us lifelike robots, only to wind up creating monstrosities instead. The more realistically human the robot appears, the more critical we become of its flaws. If something is just a tiny bit off, we become quite unnerved. We can sense the robot isn't truly alive and comes off more as a corpse than an actual person. We know what a healthy human looks like, and deviations from that understanding are jarring. Sometimes this is to our own detriment, causing us to be alarmed or frightened in the presence of physical deformities, such as extra or fewer limbs and digits. In short, by nature, the sight of a human gone wrong can be one of the scariest things we encounter. It's why antique dolls and toys look so damn freaky. Turns out this phenomena is extremely important to artists who render the human form. Drawings and 3D models can also suffer from falling into the Uncanny Valley. 3D animators have been trying to combat this from the onset, after films like The Polar Express presented us with photorealistic characters that were more awkward than familiar. A lot of this comes down to artistic skill, as well as the technology at hand. For instance, 3D characters couldn't even pull off long hair, until Pixar broke new ground with Violet's hair in The Incredibles. The most successful artists have learned to just steer clear of the valley entirely by purposefully exaggerating or idealizing their renditions. This is where anime fits in. While anime characters have very realistic anatomy, with details such as musculature and tonality, at least compared to Western cartoons, their large, shimmering eyes and petite noses and mouths clearly delineate them as not human, or in some people's opinions, better than human. Honestly, I think anime Jill is and will always be best Jill. Of course, this is only because anime characters are unmistakably drawings. Any human with anime features that extreme would be downright scary. Such was the case for Alita Battle Angel. There's a huge difference between someone having vivid youthful eyes and literally having them the same size as an anime character. James Cameron's film, while generally well received, brought us an attempt to make anime proportions photorealistic, creating visuals that take some getting used to at the very least. Alita looks alien, with protruding eyes that fail to look human or anime. Now, here's the catch. Games like Resident Evil and Final Fantasy VII aren't exactly anime in the sense that they're stylistically cartoony. Both games utilize photorealistic visuals to an extent, but they're so unmistakably Japanese that their fans often intersect. Final Fantasy is just as anime to me as any actual anime, so I think it's valid to explore how these titles deal with the Uncanny Valley too. We've got to admit that gaming has come a long way in terms of depicting realistic humans, but it's clear that some developers are doing a better job than others. A lot of Western games like Mass Effect or Hellblade have some really uncanny models, and games like RE3 look amazing on occasion, under the right conditions. Final Fantasy VII Remake, however, manages to look gorgeous almost all the time, at least for its main characters. The difference in these games comes down to aesthetic vision, as well as technical proficiency. A lot of Western games aren't concerned with making attractive characters, at least not to the point of prioritizing their glamour above all else. A lot of them aim for a gritty or tough aesthetic, and without prioritizing beauty so much, characters are more likely to fall into the Uncanny Valley. But it's not just aesthetic. As I said with RE3, the actress chosen for Jill is certainly attractive, and brings a more human touch to the character. Sure, she gets covered in dirt and blood, but those aren't the things that make her uncanny. Rather, it's a matter of technical proficiency. Turns out, lighting and rendering a video game character is way harder than just recording a real person. In particular, one of the hardest things to get right is the teeth. A lot of times, I see a phenomenon I call teeth gnashing, where a character's mouth movements are so severe that their teeth are shown blindingly apparent. While our teeth are just one small part of our complex facial expressions, in games they tend to stand out in a distracting and unflattering manner. It's a subjective undertaking, and I can't rationally describe why we're so picky about teeth, but we are. An otherwise gorgeous 3D model can be ruined by the wrong camera angle or beam of light, striking their pearly whites. This is much more prevalent in games that utilize automation to animate facial expressions. To an extent, this does carry over to the FF7 Remake. The NPCs suffer from being automated, and teeth gnashing is possible. Yet, all of the main characters completely avoid this fate. Tifa, Cloud, and Aerith are especially beautiful, and it's not like they don't show their teeth either. To achieve this effect, I give Square Enix a lot of credit for both their attention to detail and technical skill. The graphics are sharp, pristine, and detailed, down to the shine on their lips. But detail isn't everything. You can render the detail of a turd for all I care, conveying every crack and texture to photorealistic perfection. But that in itself doesn't equate beauty. That's where aesthetic vision comes in. Ever since Advent Children, the characters in Final Fantasy have been made to look cute and pretty. That might sound absurd for a game that aims to be cool or badass, but it turns out that's exactly what these human faces needed. An overly perfect, overly adorable design. By overcompensating in this one aspect, I believe that Square Enix has managed to weed out all the potentially ugly, uncanny facial expressions that the characters might otherwise show under varying conditions. It goes to show just how much effort needs to go into making someone attractive, because even the slightest imperfections will rob these models of their human appearance and freak out players. Getting it right takes tremendous care that many games just don't prioritize. So in the end, no, I don't think Remake Jill is ugly. I actually find her much prettier than some of her previous incarnations. I definitely feel we as gamers have gotten more picky about this stuff, but it's only fair now that companies are capable of bringing us exceptionally beautiful characters if the effort is taken. If devs really want to make photorealistic graphics, they have to realize they're on a tightrope between healthy vitality and uncanny horror. Anime, by intentionally avoiding realism in select areas, manages to avoid this entirely, and more photorealistic Japanese games overcome the Uncanny Valley by making their human characters as believably gorgeous as possible, to compensate for all the small mishaps like teeth gnashing that would otherwise trigger our disgust. I want to extend this discussion to you all. How do you feel about Jill's appearance? Can you provide examples of games or anime that either fall into or successfully overcome the Uncanny Valley? What techniques do you think make the difference? Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this channel, help me beat the algorithm by liking, commenting, and sharing the video, subscribing to Otaku Daikun, and, most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all of my anime discussion, lore, or Let's Play content. If you want to support me directly, there are now 3 ways that all provide the same benefits. You can click Join here on YouTube, or join Patreon or Subscribestar for access to exclusive vids and early access. As always, celebrate your fandom.